Morning, everybody. Excited about today's call. We've got obviously the webinar. It's not going to be a regular Zoom call. It's going to be a webinar because we're going to have probably a couple thousand people on here with the YouTube, with the overflow onto YouTube. But excited about this morning's call, and I'll tell you why. You know, when you look at the company and you look at fundamentally sound, you know, a lot of times people talk about the legends in Primerica. And then they'll talk about some of the original guys, the guys that kicked off the company when the company was founded back in 1977. And there's some great players that built businesses back in the early days. And we wouldn't have the opportunity if it wasn't for the pioneers that went out and created it. But if you look at the last 20 years, there's a handful of people that dominated the company. There's a handful of people that put themselves in a position that they could go out there and really hugely build a company within a company. And I'm just so excited to have our guest speaker on here today, because when you look at someone who is fundamentally sound, and when I say that, sometimes people go, oh, this guy's great with securities, or this guy's great at personally producing, or this person is a big recruiter, they're fundamentally sound, or this guy is a good communicator. You know, there's a lot of people that do great parts of Primerica, but in my opinion, okay, and I can name 10 different speakers right now that if I said, oh, this guy's great at this or she's great at that, you'd say, oh, absolutely, that's what they're known for. But if, in my humble opinion, right, if you take somebody, if you said, who's the best person, the best example of everything, a blend of building a Primerica company, someone who's duplicated what Primerica's done, and someone who has great quality of business, has duplication going on where it's transferable, where all his guys and teammates have been able to copy that and expand from that. You know, I sent a message to Willie Naranjo this morning, just went over 2.1 million. Not only is this guy successful and what him and his wife have created, but have created a tremendous amount of other successful people. That to me is what Primerica is, right? It's not about Art Williams making billions of dollars and no one else making money. It's about creating an opportunity where people can truly have a business that they own. And this guy's a great friend of ours, but I don't think there's anybody who does a better job at explaining our opportunity and why it's worth it. And what he also does is take everybody's friggin' excuses away. You know, one of the things that's pretty cool, he's direct. You know, a lot of times when people said years ago, this guy's cocky. I don't think he's cocky. I think he's confident. I think what he did is he worked his ass off and worked hard on himself and created a dream life, and gets frustrated sometimes with people because they don't copy what he's doing. But I'm going to turn this whole training over today to Senior National Sales Director, $1 million super hierarchy builder, the great Omar Oropesa.
Hey, everybody. I am so honored to be here. When Keith called me and he said, hey, are you open this weekend, whenever it was? I said, listen, I'm open whenever you want me to be open, because he's just one of those people I've always liked. Luckily, his last name's Otto, and I'm also an O. And so we're always next, you know, to each other at all the events. And so we've known each other since way back when we were really not everybody knew us, right? Now it's like weird, like everybody knows us. And it's really, really neat. So anyways, it's an honor. I wanted, you know, to open up a little bit with a little bit about who I am. If you're new out there, you know, I was recruited and I was a zero pointer. Okay. So I was in the wrong age group. I was young. I was in college. I was flat broke. I was living at home rent free. You know, I drove a clunker. I mean, I had a clunker where the roof liner was ripped in the car, and a roof liner then was like $180, but I didn't have $180. So, you know, I just drive around with the roof liner hitting me on the head, you know, and I knew there was another way, you know. I mean, I was like, man, there's no way this is the way life is, you know, the rest of my life. I was looking, I was in college. And that's when one of my good buddies, Javier's his name, he was trying to prospect me. He was, hey, there's a meeting this week, yada, yada. And I'd always let him know, yeah, I'm there. You can rely on me. And I never went to any meeting because I was not going, you know, to any meeting, because you know what the meetings are. It's usually Amway or like whatever like that. And so I avoided him. And like a year later, not a year later, but 8 months later, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was out because, I was young. I was out every night. And I was driving home and I was aggravated because all my buddies that had graduated 1 year, because all of them were like 1 year older. And so they all graduated and they landed the jobs that I wanted, that I, dreamt of having, accounting jobs. And they were the jobs we all wanted. And they landed them and they were miserable. Like they hated their jobs. And I was just with them that night hanging out. And, I'm asking questions. How is it working there? Is it awesome? They're like, it sucks, man. They're working us, to the, like every weekend, they're working us 80 hours a week. And I'm naive, right? I go, well, 80 hours a week, you're making extra money then, right? Because they got to let you have more money, right? If you work over your 8 hours a day, right? They laugh at me. No, that ain't the way it is in the real world. And so there I wasn't going, well, I don't want to live that lifestyle. I don't want to be hating my job and working 80 hours a week. And so at 1 o'clock in the morning, I drove over Javier's house. Now this proves how close we were. Okay. My closest friend, or one of my closest friends, tried to bring me, to a meeting for 8 months and I blew him off. Right. So I know you have people blowing you off and they're close and it hurts your feelings, I'm sure. Get over that. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, I just drove over to his house and I knocked on the door. He opens the door in his underwear and he says, "What's up, bro?" I go, "Explain Primerica." And he goes, "Well, there's an op meeting." I go, I'm not going to any meeting. Okay. Clue, it's been 8 months. You've invited me for 8 months. I've not gone. I'm here asking you, explain me the damn business. So he brings me in his house in his underwear. I'm not kidding. He explains Primerica. And I go, "Why didn't you just explain that 8 months ago to me? I'm in. Let's rock and roll." Okay. Now, you're going to notice that I struggle with words every once in a while. I'll be like, well, I used to struggle with every word, right? So I literally graduated college never giving an oral presentation. I worked my way out of every presentation. I negotiated my way out of it. I grew relations with the instructors. And then I'm in Primerica where all you do is give oral presentations. So the one thing I was scared of most, right? And so when I hear recruits go, "I'm scared to line up an appointment. Oh, I'm just like, I want to just hit you, like right in the Adam's apple, bam, little quick shot." Because it's like nobody was more scared than I was. I mean, I wasn't able to talk. And so what did I do? I practiced in the mirror. I would practice the presentation and I would practice moving my lips and breathing and doing all the stuff that you naturally do. And for whatever reason, I don't do. Now, I'm a lot more fluent now, right? So everybody who I knew then, and they run into me now, they go, "Dude, you're like fluent." I go, "Well, the richer you get, the more fluent you get. That's just the way it is because you don't really give a crap anymore. And when you don't worry about it, you don't really struggle as much." So anyways, my number one lesson is never judge anybody, because if you would have looked at me then, you would have never thought in a million years, that guy, he's going to grow the largest hierarchy in Primerica over the next 20 plus years. You would have never dreamt that. Okay. So you never prejudge. Now, if you are going to recruit anybody like me, right, who is not the ones you would be looking at, they need one thing. And if they don't have this one thing, I wouldn't recruit them. And the one thing is they want to make money. They have a very strong, desire to make money, because if they've got that, they could learn the rest of the business. Okay. And so anyways, I wanted to make money. I was credible because I was graduating from college. So everybody that knew me knew I was graduating. And so when I went to line up training appointments, like they're like, "Okay, no problem," because I would ring them up and I would say, "Hey, listen, I need your help. I'm working a business. You know, I'm graduating this year in college. I'm working here while I'm in college, and I need a lot of practice presentations, and I need your help. I need you to listen like an hour. I need you to ask a lot of questions, because the more questions you ask, the more that I'm going to learn. And so please, I need you and your wife there. If you and your wife aren't there, it's not a training presentation. They won't give me credit. I need it this week. Will you please help me? And I was humble when I asked. I know that's hard to believe if you know me, but I was very, very humble in the early days, because I wanted, to line up these meetings because I wanted to learn Primerica, because I was hoping this would work. I didn't know it would work. I had no idea if this was real or if this was like Amway, okay? I knew, though, if we went out and visited people and I watched it work, then I knew I could really invest the energy in it and grow a business. So anyways, we went and visited an uncle and aunt of mine. Then we visited another uncle and aunt, and then my own parents were the last ones, because they were hard-headed, because I lived with them. They knew I'm flat broke. What do I know about anything? But after I went, to the uncles and the aunts, then they were like, okay. And we went there and I watched it all happen. I watched life apps close on every one of them. I watched it. They were all ripped off with the wrong products. We wrote them all investments. This is key. I think this is one of the reasons why I've always grown a very structured, organized business and well-rounded, is when they were training me, I watched the trainer do the whole job. I watched him close a life app, open up an IRA. One of them, we even closed a smart loan, okay? You guys weren't around in the old days, the smart loan, which we named the unsmart loan. But anyways, that's another story. I watched as a brand new recruit, life apps close, investments close, loan close, and we recruited one of them. And I was like, this is real. Holy shit. This is legitimately a real business, which is what I was graduating in college. I wanted to work business. And I'm like, here it is. And it's in an industry that I like, and I could grow it as large as I want to grow it, or as small as I want. Because, early on, I didn't, dream about having the largest hierarchy in Primerica and all of that kind of stuff. Like now, that's what I dream about. But then I just dreamt, if I was able to earn $1,000 a week, this is really so small thinking, but this is where I was then. Okay. I mean, I'm young. I'm in, college. I'm flat broke. So I was like, if I'm able to make $1,000 a week and work whatever, 11 hours, 12 hours a week of real work, like, with clients, and sleep in every morning and party every night. And I'm like, this is a dream business to me, right? And so that's what I wanted to do, right? And here's the thing. I know the majority of you guys listening who are newer, the one reason you will quit the business, the only reason you will quit the business, if you quit, is you didn't line up training appointments. You weren't out with your trainer, number one. You didn't watch it work, okay? Like that is what kept me in Primerica, was that when I was brand new, I went out on training appointments, I watched it work, and that blew my mind. Okay, then the next thing was, over that month, I actually lined up 11 recruiting presentations. Okay, so these were people like me. They were in college. They wanted to make money. And I was letting them know, because every day at school, I was jacked up about Primerica. I said, hey, listen, guys, you need to come work with me. I don't know if you want to or not. I just want you to listen to this presentation. It's awesome, blah, blah, blah. Whatever script I used, I was jacked up enough. They could look in my eyes and they could tell that I was really jacked up about this. And I lined up 11 recruiting presentations in that month. We recruited 9 out of the 11. Okay, so we went out on that many training appointments, uncle, aunt, and my own parents. We close them all. Then I watch 11 recruiting interviews, all of them like me, either zeros or ones, right? And we recruited 9. Now, what that did for me is I'm now envision, I'm in Primerica a month and a half, maybe. I've learned how to recruit. I've watched 11 recruiting presentations. I've watched him handle every objection. I watched him close them. I watched the training appointments. I watched him close the life apps, the investments, the loans, and recruit the client. Okay. And all this happened. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. If you're going to be the one that lasts here, you need a month like that. Maybe you're watching and you're going, well, I'm not a new recruit. I screwed it up when I was a new recruit. Okay, great. Wonderful. This month, not next month, like right now in May, over the next 1 month, you should line up 11 recruiting appointments. And if you're not well trained and you don't really know what you're doing and you're not licensed in everything, you should line up a training appointment with an individual to train you who is licensed in everything and knows what they're doing, and watch what they're doing and use this 1 month as your new recruit month all over again. The beauty of Primerica is we let you do it over. You remember when we were little kids and we're playing in the street and everyone's arguing about, I was in, no, you were out, I was in, okay, a do-over. Well, we get do-overs in Primerica every week, every day, right? So if you've worked here 8-9 years and you're like, I've been in 8-9 years and I don't know how to do this, it's that you didn't do your job when you were a new recruit. It's a very easy job. You line up appointments. That's it. You watch and you learn. So after all that, this is what I realized, okay? And I'm a pretty analytical guy. And I realized, I said, okay, when you recruit anybody, everybody has at least that many people. They're easy 3. They're easy 3. And if everybody has an easy 3 and you recruited 8, 9, or 10 a month, and every one of them had an easy 3, their uncles, their aunts, their parents, their cousins, whoever, their easy 3. What's an easy 3? An easy 3 is anybody that if you're at their house and you want a drink, you don't have to ask. You just walk in and grab it. Or you could walk in their home pretty much without knocking, like one of those knocks as you're walking in the house. Hey, I'm here. You're easy 3. Like with me, it was my uncle, aunt, and, my parents. So I realized that. The other lesson I learned on working on all these training appointments is earn all your licenses as quickly as you can. And that way you can maximize your profits. See, I looked at this like a business, not like an MLM, Amway bullcrap deal. I was like, this is a business. Like if you own a McDonald's, could you imagine if you only had the license where you could move Big Macs? So I walk in and I say, I want a value meal number 1. And they go, well, sir, we can't give you the whole meal because we only have the license for Big Macs. We could give you that, but if you want the drink or you want the onion rings or you want the all that. Now the McDonald's up the street, they got all the licenses. I'd recommend if you want everything, that's where you go. But I could give you this. That's the way you are with one license. Right. Like when you listen to that McDonald's example, aren't you like, well, that's retarded. Nobody would ever do that. Why would you own a McDonald's and not offer all the products? That'd be crazy. Well, you're in Primerica. Why aren't you offering all the products? Why don't you have all the licenses, to offer all the products? I learned this as a brand new recruit because I watched my trainer, Javier, close everything. And I was like, so I would ask him questions. So, okay, On the Life app, how much would I have made? On this, how much would I have made? Like I learned, it blows my mind. I visit Primerica offices and run these huge events. Lately, we only run them on Zoom, but usually we're out there and I will ask RLs, one level away from RVP, and I'll ask them, what do you make on a 100 grand annuity trade? And they look at me like I got one eyeball in the middle of my head. I'm like, you don't know? No, that's why you're not licensed, because you don't realize how much money you can make if you earned all these licenses, if you were trained, if you were knowledgeable. You don't really know. How could you, would you work a job anywhere? Would you work a job anywhere and not know how much you would earn? The answer is no. You want to know how much you get paid. Yet you work in Primerica, and it's on Primerica Online. Comp, you can look it up. It's all broken down there. Learn it. It's crazy. So anyways, I learned about everybody you recruit has an easy 3. I learned I needed all my license because I wanted to maximize the profit. I learned that I needed to lock in on recruiting, that was really the answer. That was the beauty of Primerica, that most other individuals that work in our industry, their number one problem is clients. They got to prospect, every day. They have to call strangers every day. Well, I wasn't able to do that because remember, I wasn't able to talk. So in a way, it worked with me, not against me. I knew the only way that I would get clients is recruiting and training them in their easy 3. You live in the easy 3. If you don't remember nothing else this morning, remember, live in the easy 3. That's what I did. I lived in the easy 3. So anyways, I realized locking in on recruiting is very, very important, right? Because in Primerica, you always hear recruit, but nobody really explains why. But I'm wrapping this all up in my brain as a new recruit. I'm going, every recruit is worth their easy 3. I earn all my licenses. I can maximize the profit I make. I train these new recruits. I license these new recruits. I grow a business. It all gels, together. If you really spent time in learning the business, you would get that. Most treat Primerica like a hobby, and that's why they never make a lot of money. Okay. Next lesson I learned is while I was on these training appointments and these recruiting appointments, I was there to learn. I wasn't there to watch in awe. I wasn't there, oh, Keith, you're so awesome. I could never do that. Oh, Omar, that close was no. I was there to learn how to do what they do. I wrote notes. I brought a recording device, those little audio tapes, right? I'm old, but I'm not that old where it was 8-track tapes, okay? But those little audio tapes I would bring and I would record the presentation so that I could listen to it and I could practice. I would write notes down in the middle of the presentation because at the end of the presentation, when we would leave, I would ask a million questions. I realized I was there to learn. I wasn't there to watch. And especially learn the recruiting presentation, that I went out on 11 recruiting presentations and we recruited 9. This is key to lasting in the business. After that month, I never needed Javier to ever run another recruiting appointment. I'd watched 11 of them. I'm not retarded. It's not that hard. If you watched 11 of them and you actually listened, learned, and you recorded it and you asked questions, after 11, if you are not able to do it, I have to question your level of intelligence. And I was lucky that I listened. Why? Javier quit Primerica right after that. He quit Primerica. He had a job offer for 100+ grand a year, whatever it was. And he left Primerica and he left me. Could you imagine after 8 months of trying to recruit me, then he recruits me, then he's training me, then he quit. So then I rolled up, to this other trainer named Rick, who's terrible, but I didn't need him. Why? Because I learned what I needed, to learn. Quit using excuses like my upline this or my upline that. listen, this is your business. You need to learn it. Okay. And so anyways, that's what I did. And then I'm explaining all this, and this is just what I learned in like a month working in Primerica, right? There's a lot of you guys right now go, man, this is good stuff. Let me write this down. And you worked here 9 years. I learned this all in a month. Why? Because I was engaged in the business. I wasn't like just working it, to try it out. I was like, look, after I went out on those training appointments and I knew this was real, I was going to grow a business, right? And so let me click over to my whiteboard here and let me give you these numbers, okay? Because I want you to realize how this is a process. You learn and you grow. You learn, you grow, right? So real quick, year one, I'm going to go year 3, year 5, 10, 11, and 12. So year 1, that's all I made. It was not like, oh my God, I'm unbelievable. I'm natural at it. It's easy to me. No, it's very, very hard. I struggled for a long time. Actually, I went 9 months and only earned about that much. And then in the last 90 days, I made 12 grand. But the last 90 days would have never happened without the struggling for 9 months. Okay, so all you new recruits out there, look, you're not going to get rich in 9 months. Nowhere, no matter what you work. Even if you were a drug dealer, right? 9 months in, you're not rich, right? You got to grow a client base, right? So these 9 months is what I call the quit zone. Okay. This is where y'all quit. Oh, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if Primerica. I want to punch you in the Adam's apple because I know how much this works. I know how awesome this is. I know that this could change your life forever and ever and ever if you would just do the work. So anyways, look at the progression of it, right? In year 3, I made 108 grand. In year 3, I was already in RVP. And year 1, remember, I was still in college, right? So 3 years in, 1 year I was in college. I'm in RVP. I'm earning 100 plus grand a year. How many adults have worked a job for 20 plus years and have never made and will never make 100 grand a year at their jobs? Like almost everybody. Here I was, a kid living at home, rent free, wasn't able to talk, and I'm making $100,000 plus. Why? Because I went to work and I learned what I needed to learn. Then you look at this as I grew, I made $200,000. I thought, this is unbelievable. I mean, what am I ever going to do with all this money? How will I ever spend it? Trust me, you learn how to spend it. Okay. Then you move to year 10, and this is what I made year 10. I'm already over $500,000. I'm a cash millionaire already. I have $1 million in cash. The next year, look at the growth. The next year, this is what I made. I mean, that is a raise, of a couple $100 grand in a 12-month window. And then the next year, I made 902, and I was a multi-millionaire. Cash. Why? Because for 12 years, I lived under my means. I lived on a lot less money. I'm not out trying Louis Vuittons and Gucci and driving Lamborghinis like a lot of you idiots who you make money and you don't have millions put away. You're already blowing all the money. I lived under my means. I did it the Art Williams way, okay? I lived now, I enjoyed my life. I lived in an all right place. It wasn't like, wow, but it was nice. It was okay. I rented an apartment for all those years. Renting an apartment at 800, 900 grand a year in income. Who does that? Me. Okay. And so anyways, The only regret I have one regret in Primerica. That one regret is that year I missed the $1 million. It was June and we were making 99,000, 98 grand a month, 96, 99. I would have crossed the $1 million at the end of that year, but that year was 08. And if you remember, 08 and 09 was when everything crashed. So my only regret, because I would have earned $1 million in year 12. And I'm going to explain to you how and why I did that. You see, everybody loves to hear the numbers. Oh, I wish I was in your year 12, Omar. Great. Then you have to work Omar's year 1 and my year number 2 and my year number 3 and my year number 8 and my year number 9 if you want my year 12's results. You're not able to get one without the other. It's just, that ain't the way it works. Okay. And last month alone, I made this last month. Crazy. In April, this is April, okay? April of 2020, when the economy is closed down, I have 88 vice presidents. All of our offices were closed for the whole month. The economy is closed. Unemployment is climbing. And what do? We make $156,000 in income. Blows my mind. Listen what else we did. In recruits, that number of recruits last month. We did in life premium, okay, this much in premium. We did in volume, we did this much in volume. We even closed a couple $1 million worth of loans. We're in that new loan program now here in Florida. You know, so everybody wants that part, but nobody wants to do the work. All you new recruits need to realize that result that you're looking at on your screen, that you want, that you're dreaming about, that you're wishing you could have, the only way you're going to ever have that is you need to, over the next month, work on your 11 recruiting interviews, line up your training appointments. And because what you're doing right now is laying the groundwork. It's growing your knowledge, right? If you miss that, then you're not able to get the results later. It's just not going to happen, man. All this stuff, this wasn't overnight. I mean, this was over years and years and years of working on the easy 3, man. I mean, if you look at it, if you get 10 recruits a month, okay, half of them quit. Half of them, they do nothing. That's just the reality of it. Why? I don't know. Listen, why do people join a gym in January after their New Year's resolution of I'm gonna work out and lose weight? They all run over to the gym, join the gym, everybody joins. And a month later, crickets are chirping in the gym. It's empty. Why? Because people went and worked out once or twice maybe, and everything hurt. And they woke up and they missed a day. And then they woke up the next morning and it hurt even worse. And then they rationalized, well, I don't really need to work out every day. And then it just vanished. It's like Primerica. They joined Primerica. Oh, the dream of making money and wiping out their loans and growing a business and getting free. And then they make a call. They didn't practice the script with their trainer. So they used their own, crappy script, which is wrong. And that's why they were rejected. And that's why they didn't line up the training appointment, and it hurt them. And then they line up another one and it hurt some more. And then they start to rationalize, well, my job's okay. My job's not that awful. Living with credit card debt is normal. That's what everybody does. And they rationalize their way out of quitting the business, not out of quitting the business, out of the business, right? So just realize that, quit letting that crap bring you down. Now, if you recruit one, guess what? One quits, so you have none. But if you recruited 10 people, half of them quit, that leaves you this many. So let's just tell you that this many, they're around, but they do nothing. They're in training. they're talking a great game, but they're not doing anything. Why? Because they're scared. They're just scared. And then these, you have your easy 3, which equals 9 training appointments in the right market, in the right market. If you do 9 training appointment in the 9, like in the right market, you're going to close a lot of premium. You're going to recruit some good quality recruits out of there. You're going to write a lot of rollovers. You're going to write loans. You're going to make money. But for whatever reason, you can't get in your head that in order to get this part down here, you need to get this part up there. You just think, well, you know, Omar, Keith, you know, they're just lucky. Bull crap. We just outworked your ass. That's all it is. Okay. And then look, how do you get 10? Because I remember when I was new, I used to think, how do you recruit 10 people? I mean, I can't even recruit 1. Well, number 1, you got to learn your recruiting presentation. You got to learn handling objections. You got to learn how to close. How do you learn that? A lot of practice, a lot of practice, a lot of practice. Record it, listen to it. I mean, if you recorded your own recruiting presentation and you listened to it, okay, would you join you? Or would you listen like, I wouldn't join that guy? Well, guess what? They don't either. So you need to get it where you can listen to your own presentation and you could think, hey, that's pretty good. I would work with that guy. Okay. So how do you recruit 10 or more? Well, you recruit 3 directs a month. Okay. You go, what? 3 directs? That's 1 every 10 days. That's not like crazy. Okay. That's not, I mean, that's actually pretty damn lazy. Okay. But you do that. And then with those recruits, they're going to lead you to the other 7. You do those and you'll equal 10 recruits a month. That's just the nature of the business. That's just the way it works. That's the way it is. See, I didn't treat Primerica like a hobby. I treated it like a business. Every business was small. Every business was small. McDonald's was small. There was 1 location. Walmart was small. There was 1 location, right? So all of us, Keith Otto's hierarchy was small. It was 1 guy, him. Omar's hierarchy was small. It was 1 guy, me, right? So what does it take? It takes 1 person with a vision, a dream, and the work ethic, you know, to work it long enough and improve long enough where your small business multiplies over time. I got all my notes here. So your job is you need to get promoted to RVP and then build a large base shop. So now, nowadays, a large, base is like 100 grand. I don't want you to listen to that and be like, I have to do 100 grand or I'm a loser. Okay. Would you want to run 100 grand base shop? Absolutely. If you can. Okay. But I never did it. Okay. And I grew a huge hierarchy, right? So let me give you a little hope. Let me click on my whiteboard again. I love this whiteboard. So anyways, between these years, okay, which was this long, I ran a 30 to 50 grand chase. Not only that, we ran it with a QGI right around there. Not only that, we ran it with approximately this much in investment volume, million, in investment volume, right? Because that right there is what promoted us RVPs. We would get, to this level here, 50 grand, a little bit more, 50, 60, and we'd knock one out. Then we grow it again and we'd knock another RVP RVP out. We grow it again and we knock another RVP out. And so over those years, right now, I have this number of RVPs that are generation 1. That's what has grown my whole business. My whole business is grown out of that. So let me draw it out real quick, okay? Because I want you to visualize it, right? You run a base between there and there. You run it for that long. It produced you this number of generation 1 RVPs, and that produced you 88 total RVPs and this number of licensed reps. You see, sometimes when you look at the large numbers, you think, how am I going to do that? I'm so overwhelmed. But the reality is, this is your job. Now, if you want to grow larger, you'll probably grow it quicker than I did, okay? But that was our job. I wanted to run a business where we were strong in recruiting, we were strong in premium, we were strong in volume, we were strong in quality of business. Why? Because I wanted to maximize my profits. Having low quality of business is not maximizing my profits. Remember, I treat it like a business, right? And of course, you got to learn all the basics, right? What are the basics? Presentation. I mean, you listen to this off Hector Lamarck all the time, Keith Otto. You got to learn presentation, handling objections, closing questions. You need to learn how to run and explain the F&A. You need to learn how to close. You need to learn how to recruit the clients. I mean, it's real easy. If you're running the F&A, it's real easy to recruit them, because the F&A is, you're going to ask them what they want, right? I want to retire at this age. I want my child in this college. I want to wipe out all my mortgages. Okay, great. We gather the information and then we bring them the F&A, and the F&A tells the truth. And the reality is, you say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I'm looking at your F&A. Let me review it with you. At the end of it, you go, look, you need about $900 more a month where you could actually reach what you want out of life. Now, you could work with me. I could train you. I could license you. And once you're licensed and trained and you know what you're doing, you could work one evening a week and you can earn that no problem. Okay, not only would you earn the money, but you would learn where to use it the smartest way. It would really, really help you. Now, if you don't want to work with me, that's all right too. I'll still work with you, help you as a client. But which one of these dreams would you want to adjust? So your retirement age, if we move it all the way to 80 years old, then we can do it with your income. They're like, what do you mean? Well, it's all numbers. It's what you want versus what you have. So right now, what you have is enough money where if we plan your retirement, you can retire at age 80. But I don't want to retire at age 80. I want to retire younger at age, 60. Well, in order to do that, you need an extra $900. I can't wave a wand. Okay. Now, or how about this? Little Johnny, he doesn't need to go to college. He could learn to work as a plumber, right? He doesn't need to go to college. Well, no, I want Johnny in college. Well, we need an extra $900 a month. Well, because it won't grow enough. If you're using the F&A, guys, I use it where when you list all their debts, okay, I normally add in an extra $1,000 a month, and it wipes out their loans, like mortgage, college loans, credit. It wipes their loans out like that. And they're blown away. They're like, you mean in 8 years, I could be out of debt with my mortgage and everything in 8 years? Oh, if you earn $1,000 a month extra and you apply it. right? So you got to learn how to use the F&A as a weapon. It's a weapon, man. It could close them on why, and it's not like you're lying to them. You're not misleading them. You're not misrepresenting them. You're asking them the questions. What do you want? When do you want to retire? Does, you want your little ones in college? Do you want to wipe out your loans? The F&A will let them know how much they'll need to do. Their jobs let them know how much they're able to do. And then there's a gap, and we can recruit them and bring that gap even, where now what they make will help them reach what they want. Or we need to change what they want. Painful. Well, a lot of you guys, you're saying you don't really do that with your client. Yes, I do. Oh, well, now you do that because you're rich. I always did that. I always was honest with my clients, which is why I recruit a lot of them, is I explain to them the numbers. It's a numbers thing, okay? Look, if you're not going to earn the $900 a month with me, that's okay. But where are you earning the $900 a month? Because if you're not earning that extra $900, we need to adjust your goals. I'm not able to bring you what you want with what you have presently. And boom, man, if you learn to do that in a way where you're straight up with them in a loving, kind way. I know it's hard to believe that I could do that, but I do that. You'll recruit them, and they're going to wind up your greatest recruits because they're already clients. They love the products. They know what we do. They trust it. They're the greatest recruits. Where you struggle is when you're recruiting people in the wrong market, where they don't need the products, so they don't own them, so they don't really know they work, and they're not credible. You could recruit in the wrong market. I already went over this. You could recruit in the wrong market. I was in the wrong market. Otto was probably in the wrong market when he was recruited as well. But we wanted to make money. Remember, I brought that up early on. If you're going to recruit anybody in the wrong market, they need a strong want. And that want is, I want to make money, because if you've got that, you're going to learn what you need to learn. Okay. So let me move on to my notes. So you need to learn all that stuff. You need to learn presentation, objections, closing questions, F&A, all the products, how to close, how to recruit the clients, and then how to train the clients. You've got to learn how to train the clients. And the reality is, people never learn those items, even though it's all over Primerica online, even though your upline will train you on it. If you line up the training appointments, you're not going to learn it not lining up the training appointments. Like, I laugh when a recruit says, so Omar, can you spend an hour with me and train me on these products? I'm like, no, but you could line up a training appointment and I could go out with you and I could train you on the product with a real live client. Yes, that I could do. Omar, can you block off an hour and train me on the presentation? No, but if you line up a training appointment, I can go out with you and you could record my presentation, and then you can listen over and over and over to it. But I'm not going to block off an hour to give you a presentation. You're already in. See, quit wasting time and letting these recruits waste your time, and use that time in prospecting and recruiting new people that will line up training appointments. That's your job. That's really your only job in Primerica. Okay. I learned all that stuff, all that list that I went over with you. I learned it, but I was horrible at it. Right. I mean, you already looked at when I wrote out for 9 months, I made no money. Why? Because I wasn't good at the presentation yet. I wasn't good at handling objections yet. I wasn't good at closing questions yet. I wasn't good at F&A. How do you get good at anything? Do a lot of it. So that's what I did over those 9 months when I was new, when I made no money. I was out on a lot of appointments, and I would review them with my upline. Everyone I went out on, I let them know, hey, last night I was out. Hey, did you close? No. Okay, well, let's review it. Okay, let's review it. He'd say, okay, are they married? Well, they live with each other. Newsflash. If they live with each other, if he's not as much as in love with her to marry her, he's probably not worried about getting life coverage on him. That's just a reality. Well, do they have little kids? Well, they have one, but it's the woman's kid from another husband that she used to have, and it's not his kid. See, everyone he reviewed with me, there was a reason I didn't close. And it was usually I was in the wrong market. And so that's the way I learned. It was a 9-month learning curve. Okay. I was a very slow learner, right? 9-month learning curve. And eventually I learned, so if I'm in the right market, I close most of the time. And so if I'm recruiting recruits that are credible and they know people and they want to make money, they're going to probably line up those right market training appointments. It's all a process. We naturally want to recruit the low hanging fruit. Okay. It's just real, right? This is like a real meeting, right? So the reality is if you're in McDonald's, you're going to try to recruit the young lady working the drive-in versus trying to recruit the manager. I would try to recruit the manager, not the one working the drive-in. Would the one working the drive-in work? I don't know. Maybe not. I know that the manager I have greater odds with. Why? They're a manager. They've already proven they have work ethic because they work their way all the way up. They're the manager. They're probably married. They probably have a kid, and they probably need more money, right? I'm all about working with the odds, not against the odds. A lot of you guys are like, I'm going to recruit the next Arizon. Mario Arizon did it, and he worked at a flea market, and he was poor, and he had no education, and that's why I'm getting, oh, good luck with that. There's one Mario Arizon in Primerica, and he is a triple winner, okay? I mean, so the odds you're going to recruit another Mario, probably slim to none. Okay, so you have to increase your odds. If you increase your odds, you're going to win here, okay? Now, how did I get good? Well, let me work this out real quick because I want you to see this because it's a visual thing, right? So look, year 1, 2, and year 3, I recruited, okay, recruits. I recruited this many, and where was my other number here? I lost it. And 83. No, I'm sorry, 87. When you add that all up, it equals this number of recruits. That was my learning curve. I had to go through those recruits and with each one of them, try to do the right things. What are the right things? Work on their list, right? Work on their easy 3. Remember the one thing you're going to remember, if you only remember one, it's live in the easy 3, right? So every one of these recruits, I had to give them a new recruit orientation and explain to them the licensing process and the training process and the easy 3. And early on, I was horrible. But the more you do anything, you get good at it, right? And if you look, right, this is income, right? So year 1, I made that. The next year, I made that. And the next year, I made that. And he goes, I want that. Well, then recruit the numbers that I recruited and earn every license. I got every license within 180 days of working Primerica. I'm talking life, investment, and mortgage. And I was working on the license while I was out on training appointments. I wasn't like, these recruits, well, I'm working on my licenses. And then when I'm all licensed and I know everything, you're never going to know anything. You're never going to make it because you're a blockhead, because you don't listen, because you want it your way. It ain't going to work. It was nice knowing you. That's the way I view recruits like that. And I'm pretty right 99 out of 100. Every once in a blue moon, one works out like that. but normally they don't work out that way, right? The reality is, let me, where's my erase here? Anyways, it was here. Here it is. Let me erase this here. And let me explain, like this year, this is my level. Okay. Here I was very bad. Here I was okay. Here I was good. We all got to get bad. You're like, I'm already bad. No, you got to work bad. What do you mean work? You got to recruit, and you got to screw it up, and you got to learn, and you got to screw it up again, and you got to learn again. You got to screw up on the next time. Everybody that is great in Primerica at one time was not good at the business. Keith Otto is amazing at the business, amazing at the, the business. Hector Lamarck is amazing at the business. Hector struggled year one. Year one, Hector's wife had to work a job because Hector wasn't earning enough. As a matter of fact, Hector's wife was like, what are you doing? Why did you quit your job? You're not good at this. You imagine that? Great partnership there, right? But eventually he got good at it, and Jan was like, oh, you are good at it. And then Jan worked with him, and they worked with each other, and they grew a great business. Most people never get out of that level bad because they never recruit enough people. Recruiting one a month will never get you to the next level. You got to work it up. Okay. And this is what's crazy is, where am I? Even with weak numbers like this, because look, these are weak. If you look at average recruit a month, year 1, 2, the next year 3, and the next year 7 recruits a month. I was not good at recruiting. I was good at maximizing my profit though, because I was licensed in everything and I really learned the products and I knew what I was doing. I could get a lot out of small recruiting numbers, but you'll never grow a huge business that way. So watch this. This is awesome example. Let me look over my notes here. If you look at this, right, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what I made year 1. The next year, 108, 80 grand. I actually dropped, and then that year, if you add that all up, I made this much learning the business. This is crazy. I made almost $500,000 learning the business in that many years. Now watch this, versus I went to college for that many years and was negative $100,000. And I didn't learn crap. I learned algebra. Have you ever used algebra in your life? I learned geometry. I learned English Literature 101. I learned Western Civ. I learned elective classes I took. I mean, in retrospect, you look at this number of years or this number of months, that's usually one auto loan length. A car loan is usually that long. So in what it would take to wipe out one car loan, I made almost $500,000 learning Primerica because I treated it like a business. I worked on all that stuff, presentation, handling objections, F&A, closing questions, products, all that stuff. I was a master at it. And with a small team, I grew a pretty good business, right? A small team. Listen, At the end of that time period, we averaged that year 23 recruits, and that in premium. In Primerica in that year, that was huge. That was like, whoa, that's big. Remember, life apps were less then, because this was like 20 years ago. So the average life app was, I don't know, less than $800 a year. Whereas right now, our average life app is approximately $1,100 a year, right? So from 800, to 11, if you work out the math, that's larger numbers now. What I'm trying to explain to you is you have to go through the process. Now, I've been talking pretty much, to all the newer reps. Now I want to move it over to the reps that aren't new. The ones who they're like, Omar, I know presentation. Why am I listening to this? Omar, I know object. I know. Okay, well, you know that stuff. I'm going to bring you crap right now you don't know. And the reason I know you don't know it is you ain't rich. Because if you learn this, you'd be rich. So let me explain what I learned. I learned with a small team, I made this much. When I earned that much, I had 80 licensed reps. Total. That is all that I had. Now, I thought after that many months, to have 80 licensed reps was terrible. I said, that sucks. How can I work here for all those years, for 5 years, and only have 80 licensed representatives? I'll never grow a huge organization. I'll always have to work, because when I made that income, I was working. I was working hard. I was working every day. I was working every weekend. Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to listen to, oh, Omar lives a dream. Keith lives a dream. And we do, but there was some years where all we did was work. Like, oh, is there any way around that? I just want to move, to the living the dream years without the work. Nope, sorry, that ain't the way it works. Not happening. And anyways, what I learned was, I said, okay, this is the number I need to grow. Now that I've learned all the other stuff, I'm a wizard at the products and the presentation and closing and the F&A and all that. I said, my next mission is really to grow a business, is to grow distribution. Okay, it's to open McDonald's, multiple McDonald's. Okay, and so that's when I really got locked in on growing license ratios. Now, in order to grow the number of licensed reps, you need to know stuff. Like, example, you need to know what is your attrition rate. Okay, so this is all you RVPs who are at the 180,000, 200,000, 100,000, right? Like in no man's land. That's where that is. Your attrition rate is the number of licensed reps you lose each year because either they didn't renew or they missed annual, a compliance or whatever. So your attrition rate. So let me give you an example. My attrition rate was that I lost 1/4 of the reps, which means out of your 80, you're going to lose 20. You're going to wind up there. Now, what if in the whole year you only licensed 20? Well, you bring it over there, you add 20, you're at 80. Well, that's where you were the year prior. You ever wonder why you don't grow your income? It's in direct relation with you growing your representatives. I have a good friend, I won't use his name. He makes $500,000, right around. And he was aggravated, and he rang me up one day. He said, Omar, I'm so frustrated. I can't understand it, man. I work so hard, and I'm at this income, and I'm stuck. And I said, log on Primerica online right now with me. look at this number here, Bo. And I walked him because in Primerica Online, you could look at the number of reps that you actually had every year at the end of each year. We looked 8 years prior, 8 freaking years ago. And we look now, he had the exact number of licensed representatives. I said, bro, there's your answer. The reason you don't earn any more than you did 8 years ago is you have the exact number. He goes, but how's that possible? I go, how is it possible you don't know how that's possible? I said, you have an attrition rate. What's that? I'm like, dude, I went over this at a Primerica event in January where everybody that was over $250,000 was in the room. So you were in the room, you just weren't listening, dumbass. I said, everybody has an attrition rate. So you're just licensing enough people each year to replace the ones you lose. Well, if that's all you do, you're going to never earn more money. You're going to always work hard. You'll always be aggravated and you'll never get free. You've got to grow your licensed representatives. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? What are you retarded? So here's what I went over with them. I said, let me give you an example of me. Okay. I've got 80 licensed reps. Let's just say, God, thank God I don't have 80 licensed reps. I blow my mind right now. But anyways, let's just make believe I had 80 licensed reps. Now you need a goal. What is your goal? Well, my goal is to grow by this rate this year. Most of you guys, you don't even have a growth goal. What is that word I just wrote? Hold on a second. What is that? Growth. Right? I want to grow by that number. Well, what is that number? Well, if you take 80 times this rate equals this number plus your 80. What the hell just happened? Plus your 80 at the end of the year, you would have that number of licensed representatives. So you have to know the number of reps you have, number one. You have to know how much you want to grow that year. Number two, work out the numbers. Now you know at the end of the year, you want over 100 licensed representatives. Okay, now what else you need to know? Well, you need to know your attrition rate. Okay, this is very easy. How do you do that? You look at how many reps you had at the end of the year, how many you licensed, and where you're at, and you work out the math and you know what you lost. So I'm just gonna tell you my attrition rate is this. That means I'm gonna lose, out of the 80, I'm gonna lose 20. Now, if you have 80 and you lose 20, that leaves you there. And you want to wind up there, which means you need, to license that number this year. Okay, Omar, how do you do that? Well, then you need to know your recruit, to license ratio. I know right now I'm losing half of you guys. What is he talking about? Freaking write it down, look at it later, and review it with your upline. Okay, because this is business 101. You want to grow a business, you got to look at it like a business. Okay? You can't just, I'm going to recruit 20 and I don't know, whatever happens, happens. You got to have a plan. So your recruit, to license ratio ours is 22. Well, what does that mean? Well, in order to license that number of reps, which is what I need so that I could reach my goal, I need to recruit this number of recruits. Because if you recruit this number of recruits, multiply with your ratio, will license you the number you need, and then the number of recruits equals this a month. Now you can work a plan. All I did was basic math, multiplication, addition, subtraction. It's not algebra. It's not freaking calculus. And I know all that stuff as well. Okay. But this is just basic math. This is what I went into each year, every January 1. Now you don't need to wait, for January. You could like work on this evening. Okay. Right after this meeting. But every January 1, I knew, okay, this is what I need to do. And this is where I had point. Now, I would want to recruit more than that. That was my goal, but that was my minimum required number because I knew if I recruited that number, I would grow the growth rate that I wanted. Okay. It's amazing to me how many people in Primerica have no idea this even exists. It really blows me away. So let me just give you an example why this is important. Well, this, and probably Otto's hierarchy is the exact way. In our hierarchy, anybody that reaches 100 codes makes this much or more a year in income. Okay, so if you make 100 grand right now, I promise you, if you grow your codes, now that's given that you write investments and you got reasonable QBI and all that, right? All of our reps, all of our vice presidents that earn over that income earn that much in income. Let me give you an example. We got one guy named Grant Vogt. He's got 101 reps license. His rolling 12 is this much. We have Wayne Luke. Okay. Wayne Luke has this number of licensed reps and he makes this much a year. We got Evelyn Quinoa. Okay. Evelyn has this number of reps and Evelyn makes this much. We got Mark Young, which you guys know him. Okay. Mark Young's got this number of reps and he makes this much a year. And I could go on and on and on and on. But the magic number is 100. 100 codes is where you got to get to. When you have 100 codes, you will average this much in your base. How do I know that? Because we all do that. That's just the numbers. Why, Omar? Why is that the numbers? Well, what they do is you take 100 reps and you multiply it with this. This number is the number of reps that will produce. This is the law of large numbers. You have to have a minimum of 100. It really works a lot closer with more numbers. But with smaller numbers, you have no, like this won't work. So anyways, with 100 reps, you have this many producers. It's the way it is. And then they're going to, on average, write this number of life apps a month each. So you're writing this number of apps, and the average life app is 1 grand. So there's your production right there. And it's 100 codes, and you grow over the next 12 months. In other words, if you reach 100 and 90 days later you're at 90, or at the end of the year you're at 88, then you don't earn the money, you don't hit the numbers. It's you reach 100 and then 12 months later you're 120 or whatever, and you're growing and moving in the right direction. I'm giving you real Primerica Business 101 class this morning because I knew there's an audience of brand new recruits, newly licensed reps, and RVP leaders that need to grow their businesses. And I wanted to give the majority of the meeting where it's the newer reps, and the end of the meeting where the newer reps, they can look at the vision so they get, oh, I have to grow licensed represent. Yeah, this is a business. The more licensed reps you have, the more you make. Keith Otto has, I don't even know how many licensed representatives, a lot. That's why he makes more than me, but I'm going to get there. I promise. And so here's what's crazy, right? I track the numbers. Well, I also track the numbers. If you do 10 recruits a month and you do 10 grand in premium and you do 100 grand in volume as an RVP, you make 100 grand to 100 and a half. That's the range. What do you need there? Number of licensed reps. About that number of licensed representatives. Well, you move to 20 and 20 and you write more volume, you make between there and there. What do you need in reps? About 70 to 80. Why? Because your reps are growing, they're learning more, they're improving, okay? And then 100 to 120 reps, you do these numbers, and you'll really earn about here to there. That is every one of our vice presidents. I could log on, I could look at their incomes, and I could know without looking up their numbers, what do they average in recruits and premium and volume, and I could tell you approximate number of licensed reps they have. And so there's a template right there that you should be looking at and saying, okay, what do you want to make? How much you want to make? You know, here's what you got to do. Here's your job. Grow it. Watch this. After I learned this, you know, the attrition, having a growth goal, here's what's crazy. It was this year, right? After this number of years working Primerica, I had 80 reps and I made that much, right? After 10 years, so let's just say 5 years later, I had grown it, to this much, which was an average growth rate of this per year growth rate. And that paid me that much. And then you look at this a couple of years later, in this year, I grew it to 629 reps, which was a growth rate of this much a year growth rate. And I made 902. All it was is I was aware of it. I made a look right here. I wasn't aware of it. After all those years, I had 80 reps. I didn't know how I got them. I just worked. But the minute I was aware of having a growth goal, the attrition rate, the the licensing rate gave me a recruiting number that I needed to hit, that I knew if I did. Now I went out working every day with a purpose. I wasn't just running around like an idiot. I went with a purpose. And it's crazy that really, if you look at this, within this number of years, I went from 80 reps, to that number. Like that. Who's great at this? Willie Naranjo. Just crossed 2,100,000, and why his licensing ratios blow these away. I think if you looked at Willie's, though, you would look at it like, there's no way I could do that. That's impossible. You look at this, it's more reachable. Okay. Not that you're not able to do it, but you could do it. Okay. And here's the thing you really got to get. And this is like really awesome. Watch this. The rule of 72 works in everything. Over all the years, okay, over these years, from there all the way to here, over the last 20 years, my average growth rate, I went from 80 codes to as of this morning, I looked up the number, which equals a growth rate of that. That's the growth rate each year. Well, let's use this rule, 72 divided by 24 equals that number of years. That's where it'll double. So what does that mean? Well, in 3 years, roughly, we'll have 12,000, and in 6 years, roughly, we'll have 24,000 reps. It's over. I mean, this is crazy. Watch the numbers. I mean, I just want you to realize how accurate this is. Okay, I had 80 reps, 160, 320, 640, 1,280,000, 2,560. At the end of 2021, that's where we will be. Now, right now, we're only here. But you get the multiples going. You should snap that picture because that's real. Like, that's what actually happened with this growth rate per year of licensed representatives. Every one of us was small. But if you're willing to do the work, you're willing to learn the math, you're willing to have a plan in place and track your progress. See, most of you guys, you don't track crap, right? If we looked at your planners, they're empty. If I ask you right now, what's dropping off next month in income? Your answer would be like, I don't know. I have to look it up. Oh, where do I look that up? Right? You got to start treating Primerica like a business. Here's what I learned a lot of years ago. If you treat it like a hobby, it'll reward you like a hobby. Well, what's a hobby? Playing golf is a hobby. That normally runs you a lot of money. You fly around the world, you play at these great places, you join clubs, right? You play golf, you want to bring your guest with you, that runs you money. After a round of golf, you bring them, to lunch. So playing golf is a great hobby, but it runs you a lot of money. Primerica is not a hobby. If you play it like a hobby, it's going to cost you money. What do you mean? Well, renewals if you're not earning any money, the renewals, licensing, whatever, the Atlanta trip, the builder schools, it's going to cost you money if you treat it like a hobby. If you work it like a job, okay, it'll reward you like a job. I mean, I know people in Primerica, they don't work on the weekends. This weekend's Memorial Day, they're off work. They treat it like a job. But then there are a small number of individuals like your upline, Keith, and like me, and like a lot of great leaders, that we treat it like a business. Because we know if you treat it like a business long enough and you work your ass off hard enough, that it'll reward you like a business. Well, what do you mean? Well, when you own a business, a real business, you make money whether you're there or you're not there. So on Memorial Day, you don't need to work. You could travel with your wife and your kids. But you know what? Rich people, they don't travel on Memorial Day. Want to know why? Because it's crowded everywhere. They wait the next morning when everybody's at work. We travel when nobody's there, right? You have a choice to treat this like a hobby, a job, or a business. Quit treating it like a hobby. At least treat it like a job where you learn enough and then eventually flip it on where you treat it like a business. And Keith, with that, I hope that was what you wanted, because you had let me know it's a huge audience where you have new recruits on here, you have newly licensed reps, you got leaders that have worked with you for a lot of years. I just wanted to bring a little training where everybody was able to learn and grow off of it.
Well, first of all, my man, that was kick butt. And you under promised and over delivered when we chatted last night. And I think it's just a perfect example of you took Primerica 101. You took it from a brand new person coming through the process up to what it takes if you want to make millions of dollars a year. How you could do this part-time, like some people are doing it on the phone. How you can do this spare time if you don't have a lot of time, or if you want to run it like a business. And there's a lot of people run it like a business and they become self-employed. But you talked about going to the next level. And I think what you did is you took all of the questions or all of the mystery out of it. And I think it was phenomenal. What I want to do, if you don't mind, is if I could just steal a couple more minutes from you, is maybe open it up to question and answers, but just for vice presidents, right? And I know there's a couple people that are new that asked, hey, what is the right market? If you're asking what the right market is, then that means you're brand new. And that means you need to speak to your vice president, person that recruited you on into the business, and they'll walk you through what a 5-point market is. Married, own a home, have kids, over 25, a full-time job. It's basically with people who have responsibility, right? And then you talked about, one of the questions on there was, you asked, what's the easy three? And if you just want to take 30 seconds out and explain the easy three again, Omar.
Yeah, well, the easy three is those people that you're very, very close to, that you love them, they love you, you trust them, they trust you, and they're in the right market. Everybody has an easy three: parents, uncles, aunts, cousins, close relatives. And so those are the ones that when you're brand new, you want to visit them. Why? Because they love you. They want you to learn this, right? So if you line it up the right way and you let them know, I'm working a business, I would really love you to work with me. But even if you don't want to work with me, I really want you to learn what we do. And I'm using this as training. So I need you to really listen and ask a lot of questions, because the more questions you ask, the more that I learn. So will you please help me? When you're living in the easy three and it's that hottest market of everybody you know, they're going to want to help you, right? And so you live in the easy three. That's the only way that I lasted in Primerica. Otherwise, I would have left the business probably, right? So the easy three gets you free. Easy three gets you free.
I love it. So, and so it's people that you have the most credibility with, not financial credibility. Like you said, you were broke living in your parents' house. I was a plumber and teaching a karate school, living in a 3-bedroom apartment, actually a 1-bedroom apartment, sharing it with a buddy of mine, right? So we were broke. And so I had zero financial credibility, but I had personal credibility. People that liked and trusted me. People, if I called at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they would come pick me up. Like, if the Miami Dolphins were in the Super Bowl, hypothetically, but if they were in a Super Bowl this year, right, and you had an extra 10 tickets, who are the 10 people you called and say, bro, I got box seats? Like you've said to me before, hey, I got seats, man. You come anytime you want. Like, those are the people, not people that you meet at the mall. People that you have the biggest credibility with. I love it. So if we have any RVPs, right? I'm going to answer these questions for RVPs. If you have any RVPs that have any questions, if you just raise your hand and I'll open it up. Let me head over to Mervyn Boone. Let me allow Mervyn Boone to talk. Mervyn, you there, buddy?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother. You look sexy. Talk to us.
Thank you. I want to thank you and Omar for putting this together. I appreciate it so much. We learned from both of you over the years.
Hold on. Don't thank Omar. I put it together. Go ahead.
All right, no problem. Well, just for some of our leaders, and sometimes, we hear codes, and some people think that, oh, I just got to license people and then the rest will take care of itself. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is no. Okay. There was one person in Florida. I won't use his name because he's in Primerica right now, but all he did was license. He would ring up out of the yellow pages, strangers, and he ran a life class at his office and he licensed reps, but he never grew any relations with these reps, and he never trained them in their warm markets. So pretty much they earned a license, they never worked out, and they left. So it's not just licensing them. It's recruiting them, growing that relationship with them, training them and licensing them. That's what works.
All right, thank you.
You're
That's a
welcome.
great question, but I know that's the question you knew the answer to, but I think everybody could have got helped with that too, right? It's just like saying, I'm going to have children. I'm going to give birth to 3 children. Like we have 2 great children. Omar's got 2 great children, right? And then we're just going to give birth and they'll kind of figure it out. Yeah, at some point they'll figure it out, but in the beginning, you got to feed them, you got to nurture them, you got to care, you got to be a great example. You got to show them what to do, not just tell them what to do. So there's the fundamentals behind it. But the more children you have, chances are you're going to have more grandchildren, right? Awesome. Let me head over to the next question. Mike Vicario. Mike Vicario, you there, bud? You got to.
Hey, you got me?
I got you, dude.
All right, thank you. Omar, appreciate everything. Obviously, you had a big impact in my life and my business. Same thing with you, Keith. When you're promoting an RVP, I know there's the company guidelines and so forth, but what are some of the intangibles you look for? Average codes that they have, obviously fully licensed. Like, what do you look for? Because I got a couple in the hopper right now. Some are relatively new. Some have been with me for a while. What is kind of because obviously, as Keith has developed some seriously strong first generation, so have you. And I'm gearing up for SVP right now. My business is pretty on point of what you just talked about. I got 71 codes in the base, 200 plus in the hierarchy, did 1 million securities. We're pretty much right there. We recruit the codes up to 25%. So as we're promoting RVPs, what do you look for? Yeah, after replacement, after code, like all the whole 9.
It's right on the screen. I even wrote it out there. Are you able to look at that or no?
Yeah, I can see it.
That like that's what I look at is, are they able to write business on their own? Are they able to make money? The license number of representatives just lets me know, hey, you know how to recruit and license and train, and a replacement. Pretty much that's what I've used all my years in Primerica. Okay. And most of the time it's worked out well.
Okay.
Not all the time, but most of the time.
All right. So 10 by 10 after exchange. What do you think they're left with code wides afterwards? 20, 25, whatever?
Yeah, on average.
Okay. All right. Thank you, man.
Yep.
Great question, Michael. And one of the things, Omar, that I hear are all different. What everyone uses different guidelines. That's basically the company guidelines.
No. That's 10 and 10 after replacement, and the replacement's 10 and 10.
Right. So, but when you look at the company guidelines, that's what will happen. The challenge is people say they do parts of the company guidelines, right? So when they talk about, oh yeah, I have it, but I don't have acceptable persistency. Well, then that's not the company guidelines, right? I need to have 6 direct districts.
Like real districts.
I had one, remember back in 94. No, have, not had. It says have, not had. And so if you take a person personally produced, right? If you're personally producing and you're developing directs and you have 6 direct districts, you're going to do 20 by 20, 30 by 30 in your base. You're going to have 10 by 10 after promotion exchange, right? So you can't develop to 6 direct districts if you're not personally producing. I have a question. The question I have for you, Omar, is you talked about what you did on a personal basis recruiting, which was very cool. Averaging 2, averaging 3, then averaging 7, which is awesome. What was your personal premium in your first 3 years? Because this is the challenge I have. I have guys in our base shop that talk about, hey, our team is out. And I said, listen, I think it's great. You want to build a team. I joined Primerica for the overrides and the overrides. But I was a big personal producer for years. And if you're not making $500,000, $700,000 a year, Art Williams, you said you followed Art, so did I. I started when Art Williams was running the company. And he said, unless you're making $10,000 a month in overrides, you should be personally producing. Well, that was 1977. In 2020, that's 300 to 500,000 of income. And yet some guys are trying to take their business to the next level, wanting to go to the next level, wishing it goes to the next level. But if they're not developing direct districts by field training them, right? You said you're not doing a class on it. You're taking them out and showing them. What do you think that number is for a brand new person, RVP, trying to go to RVP, and RVPs that want to go to SVP NSD?
Well, I mean, for districts, you should be averaging in premium that much personally, because that'll pay you $1,000 cash. So that's your premium production district leader. If you work a job and this is your extra income, I think if you could earn $1,000 a month extra, that's enough where eventually the right people will it'll click and they're like, well, wait a minute. If I could earn $1,000 a month, I could triple that. I can make $3,000 a month. And then when they make that, so anyways, if you're on your vice president run, right? If you're on your RVP run, it's more like $7,000 to $8,000 plus personal, because you're out, and that's including splits, meaning it's probably more than that, but you're training new recruits who are underneath one of your newly licensed representatives, and you're splitting the app with them. So when you look on your blast report, that's your number, but it's really more like you're writing 11, 12 grand of the production. So
Omar,
yeah.
What's your personal premium? When you were an RVP, which you're not anymore, you're a senior national sales director. When you were an RVP, and even now, because you still write personal premium when you take someone on board.
Yeah.
What's your average personal premium?
That's the average premium when I'm working, but I'm always splitting apps.
No. What's your average personal premium per app? What's the average sale?
Oh, $1,000.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what ours is also, $1,000. So on the $1,000, that means you're only doing 2 life transactions a week. I've been saying for years, 1 by 2, right? You said, if you just do 1 recruit every 10 days, that's not really working. I look at it the same thing. If you could be 1 personal recruit and 2 personal life transactions, that's 4 by 8 a week, which is the numbers you went over. Yep. If you tell the Primerica story 4 times, I don't care if it's an opportunity meeting, it's a one-on-one interview, it's across the kitchen table as a presentation. You tell the Primerica, 1 out of 4 people are going to join, right? That if you're not recruiting 1 direct a week, you're just not talking to anybody.
You're not working, right?
Exactly. I love it. Great message, bud. We got one more RVP on here. I think we got more, but hold on. We got a bunch of RVPs. I need one more question. John Piccone, you on?
What's up, KO? How's everything?
Everything's great, brother. Talk to us.
Oh, man, awesome training this morning. Thanks for inviting us. Omar, man, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Man, very inspired by you. I met you about 8-10 years ago, and I tell you, man, for a man who's, overcame what you overcome to become almost $2 million earner in the company, man, that's tremendous.
Thank you.
Over the last month and a half, me personally, I've hired past clients. That we either clients for up to a year, 5 years, 10 years. You talk about you mentioned before about hiring the clients, and then making great recruits. I'm a believer in that also. How is it? Have you felt there was any different from hiring a client in the business? Or you know what I'm saying, as opposed to hiring recruiting just the regular recruit that you meet.
What I think is people treat the new recruits that are client very weak, because they're clients. They're really not as strong with them about making their list and all that, because they're your clients, so you don't want to piss them off or whatever, right? But the reality is, if you treat the client that is your new recruit like you would treat every new recruit, and you would work on their list and you would recruit underneath them, you'd lock them in, to the business. I just think when you recruit a client, generally the trainers are a lot more slack with them.
Awesome. That's true. It's almost like we feel like, I guess they know the whole and they know everything about the business. When in truth, they don't. They just know how to. They just know that they're a client, and they know about the company. They bought into us. They bought into the company already. But
Right.
but that's true. You got to handle them like they're brand new, and they are, for all intents and purposes.
Great question. I appreciate that. I know it's hard to understand. He has a Southern accent, Omar. He's from the South. He's from the South Bronx. Great question, buddy. Any other regional vice presidents that have questions, just please raise your hand in there. Let me head over to Natasha.
Hi, good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Natasha.
How are you?
Excellent.
Very good. Thank you so much for putting this together. We had a question. How exactly, Omar, how is it that you have everyone track their licensing when they're growing their codes?
What do you mean track them?
Like if they're recruiting people and they want to put together a system for licensing people, how do you stay on top of it every month?
You have a list, you know, you like on your list on the left, you have enrolled in life class. Underneath that, completed life class. Underneath that, prints done. Underneath that, test lined up. Underneath that, flunked or passed test. Underneath that, license on investment process charting. Underneath that, are they studying? Underneath that, are they licensed? You have a whole step by step on what's next, and then you have their name at the top, and you just check it off every week. You ring them up. This is crazy. You don't text them, you don't email them, you don't all these millennials, nobody wants to ring anybody up. Keith, it's crazy, right? You actually call them. Hey, I'm looking at your thing. You're enrolled in class this weekend. I just want to make sure you're there. I'm going to let you know that I'm going to meet you there that morning. Okay. So I want to make sure you're there because I don't want to be waking up, driving in early, and then you're not there. Okay. You're there, right? Right. Now they're going to wake up that morning. And even if they're not in the mood to go, they're like, oh, geez, you're going to be there waiting for me. I got to, and it's just all you're doing is you're increasing your odds. Not that it'll always work out. There's going to be mornings you're going to wake up and drive over to class and nobody's there. And you're like, what the, you know, but you increase your odds. You have to have a tracking, like a system. Keith probably has one. I'm positive one of your RVPs has one. It's not that you need Omar's tracking system. It's you just need a tracking system. You with me?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great question. Great question. Let me head over to Corey Brown. Corey, you there?
What's up, KO?
How you doing? You look like you're at the gym with the hat and the t-shirt on, buddy.
Yeah,
Awesome. Sorry.
Hey, Omar. First of all, thank you. Much appreciated from Canada. You know, we're rolling through POL here as you're sharing your tips, and it's not really a question. I just want to thank you for really reaffirming and solidifying what works, and you know what the proper steps are to build a solid business, and reminding us. You know, because it's very easy to get off track. So that's what I want to thank you for. Regarding the systems you've put in place, as far as a balanced business, and I know you said running the F&A. I don't want to sound silly, but is there anything you have in your base shop, in your hierarchy, to monitor that to ensure quality of business and that solid balanced business?
One thing, all I do, I'm going to write it out, is 25% of your reps are securities licensed. You do that and you run training on it in your office, they'll do the work. In other words, I have like 180 life license reps in my base, and I have about 62 investment license reps in the chase. So that's actually, I'm actually over the ratio, but this is the number I was always aiming at. If you had that ratio of your life license reps investment licensed, and you ran training, everyone says, well, do you run investment training or do you run life training? My answer is yes. Yes, I do recruiting trainings. I do trainings on life insurance. I do trainings on investments. If you run your trainings equally, you'll learn that the majority of the life and recruiting people that write no investments only run training on life and recruiting. And the ones that only write investments and no recruiting and no life only run training on investments, right? So it's logical. If you want to write all of it, you run training on all of it equally, and you're licensing at least 1/4 of your life license reps, and the rest happens on its own.
Lights out, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Great question, Corey Brown. Stay warm, my friend. Hey, just into that, Omar, you've traveled all over the country. It's a little simpler doing meetings like this now, but you've traveled all over the country doing meetings for people. And it's amazing how many times we have specialists in Primerica, which is okay, versus running a balanced business like I said you guys have, which is awesome. And a great example like what Primerica's built. But I've had people where I've done meetings for, and they say, I got to get my recruiting going on. And they don't do any training on recruiting. They don't do any recognition on recruiting. They don't talk about recruiting. It's impossible to get recruiting going on. The other side of the coin is we have people that don't do a lot of securities. And I say they don't do any training on securities. They don't talk about getting securities licensed, and they don't recognize security. So how is it supposed to grow? We think, I'll recognize it and focus on it after we have it. I closed out a meeting. You were at the same meeting, but it was an investment meeting out in Colorado, and David Siegel asked me to be the closing speaker. And I got up and said, if you want to grow your securities volume, let's cut the crap and let's stop trying to teach people how to do all the stuff that you learned on your own. And let's go get more securities license reps. 1 out of 4 or 25%, just like you said, of your life license codes should be securities license codes. And then David Siegel said to me, what if you had 50%? And I said, I don't know how to get 50%, but I know how to go from 2,500 securities license reps. Our goal is now to go to 5,000. And that's the goal. Great information. Is there any other regional vice presidents that have any questions for the great Omar Oropesa?
Hey, Keith. We have Anthony Dorsey and Mike Vicario.
We have, excuse me? Anthony Dorsey?
Yes, we have a question from Anthony Dorsey, and we have one from Mike Vicario.
Mike Vicario already asked the question, but he could ask it again if he wants. But where's the question from? I don't see Anthony Dorsey with his hand raised. Yes, I do. Now I do. I apologize. Sorry about that. Anthony.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Can you see me or hear me?
I can see you. Yes.
Gotcha. Thanks for everything today. This is unbelievably awesome. Omar, got a question for you. Do you have a time frame that you get people to district leader in, or a guide that you look at, like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
That's the mission. I mean, like, that's what we want. We want them there within a month,
Okay.
And we actually coined that sprint district, like now home office uses it and has watered it down because now it's sprint district, but you can really stroll, the district, because you don't have to do it in a month, right? So they liked the name that I use. So they use the name sprint, district, but then as they normally do, they water it down. And so we try to do it in 1 month. That is our sprint district award.
Gotcha. And the one last thing, I know you look at not wasting time and stuff like that and utilizing your time the best way possible. Do you ever, or did you ever at any point help people study to pass the life exam?
Never, not one time in my whole freaking life.
Thank you very much.
Omar, did anyone help you study?
No. Not only that, I look at it like, if you need me to help you study, what are the odds you're going to lead anybody anywhere? If you're that retarded that you need me to like be there, hold your hand, I'm not going to waste my time for that people. I recruit grown-ups. Grown-ups know what they need to do, and they go do it. You know what I'm saying? Now, I will explain to them what they need to do, how they need to do it, but I'm not going to say, I'm already licensed. I don't need to learn that crap all over again. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Anthony. Hey, Michael, did you have another question? Yep. hold
Yeah,
on.
I had one more. I don't mean to take up all your time, but I just value both of your opinions more than anything. Omar, if you mentioned a new orientation rep. So let's say you take on a direct first 48 hours, 72 hours. What's it look like? Question number one. And then part two, do you have anyone in your organization that's just focused on securities? They're maybe a little bit on the back nine of their career, got good markets, and they just want to focus on investments. And like, how do you kind of treat them not like second-class citizens in Primerica, like where they can actually make money, build books, and so forth? So just what would you do a new rep orientation? Because I think that's one of my Achilles heels, getting guys off to a fast start with good quality business. Because we can get them the district. That doesn't mean the app's sick. I've noticed the FNAs are not getting done. People are just writing apps. They're not attaching securities, especially in that first 30 days. And then the second part is because I live right outside Manhattan, we have a lot of investment producers that just want to focus on security. So how would you handle that?
Number one, I mean, that's more than one question. So now you've asked 3 questions. You're civilizing everybody's time, okay? But question number one, the orientation is nothing more than getting their easy what? Easy 3.
Okay.
I know everybody says top 100 list, top 20 list, we're going to do that later. But in your new recruit orientation, I want your easy 3. Now, I may need, to work that out of you, ask you questions like who walked in your wedding, who's over your house on Christmas Eve dinner, who do you watch the NFL with, that kind of stuff. But I will extract those names out of you, the right names, and then I review your scripts, I role play with your scripts, and that's it. It's not like, well, what is Omar's orientation? I mean, it must be, he must wave a wand and crap just happens. No, they're easy 3 scripts, role play them, get them out in the market, right? Okay. And with those investment people, are they in your base, or are they in generation 1, or where are they?
I have a lot coming through the base shop right now. Got a lot of credit.
Wait there. So that's great. You, because you ain't wide yet and you're not huge yet, you need to let them know, listen, let me work with you. Okay. Let me help you grow a team. I know you don't want to do it, but why don't we work with each other and let me recruit people under you? Obviously, when I'm training them, I'm going to split the apps with them. But once they're trained, they're under you, you're going to override them. Because listen, if you don't grow replacements underneath them, when they get old and they quit working, you're going to be left with nothing. So it's really your job to use their credibility and their markets and grow a team underneath them.
Okay, that's what I've been doing. All right, thank you. I appreciate everything.
Questions, Michael. All right, Omar, I asked you if you could do a meeting till 11:30, and we already took 25 extra minutes from you. So I appreciate your time, dude. I know you got a great family and an awesome life. And we appreciate you giving us 2 hours of your time today, buddy. And I look forward to seeing you soon. The rest of you, we're going to wrap up this call right now. Our base shop, if they could just stay on and just need it for 2 minutes, just to cover some pending things that we have going on for the week. And Omar Oropesa, you're a superstar, brother. Love you, man. Stay well.
Have a good one, buddy. Love you too.
Absolutely.
Later.